So I just want to touch on leash training. It's something that we're going to go into in much more depth in later modules, and we're going to focus around leash reactivity. But when I first work with people, especially people who have puppies and younger dogs, I always emphasize the importance of very strict and methodical leash training later on, just because it prevents so many issues and challenges that can happen later on as your dog is learning to walk, especially in an environment that is more urban. So we are right outside of Manhattan, near Hoboken, for those of you who are familiar with it, and there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of triggers. What I mean by that is just things that we might find commonplace that our dog doesn't understand yet. This is a whole new world for them, and it's not a very natural one. They don't know that the skateboard whizzing by them is an inanimate object, right? They don't know that that Amazon truck is just a part of their everyday experience. We have to get into the mind and the psychology of the animal and understand that to them, those are all living things, and ones that are kind of intimidating. So to help our dogs get desensitized and understand that those things are commonplace, it can be very tricky business, and it all starts with the tone that you set on the leash and honestly proper loose leash training. So everyone asks me what does that mean? Because people are like, I want my dog to heel. Heel and loose leash are different, but if you have a loose leash and you teach it a certain way, you kind of will get your dog to heel. Just to clarify terms, heel means when you're walking, your dog is in line with your heel. They never walk beyond that point. So if you take a step, they're taking a step right by your heel. They're not up. They might be farther back, but again, it's like a boundary. And that is typically taught more for off-leash training. Like I said, in an environment like this that's a little more urban, there's very rare instances that we're gonna have our dog off leash. I don't encourage it or recommend it. We're gonna have them on leash, but we can teach them to walk on a loose leash. And what that means is, while your dog is walking next to you, let's say they're clipped here, the leash is always slack. You have that dip there. So you're walking and you see this. Now, what we tend to do and allow to happen, especially early on, is the leash is like this, it's tight, it's taut. And what we're doing when we allow that is we're teaching our dogs to resist the leash, to be okay with the tension. So there's constantly tension on their body, whether you're walking on a collar, a harness that clips in the back, in the front, etc. There's tension on their body. What we also need to understand, especially from the puppy's point of view, is that they get to move freely wherever they want, inside your home if you're lucky enough to have a yard, in the backyard. Now all of a sudden, we've brought them into the big scary outdoors, and they can't move where they want anymore. They're restricted. They're confined to certain areas, and that can be an overwhelming experience for some of our puppies. They don't understand it, so it's in their nature to, again, fight it more. I want to go here. Why is something pulling me that way? I'm going to fight that even more. So again, what we want to do is, as early as possible, teach our dogs to stay in line with us. So if you're keeping a shorter lead, you are keeping them near your side, and that they only walk, movement only occurs when the leash looks like this, not like that. And it's surprising to me to see how many people have their dogs walking like this. Like I said, that can lead to a lot of issues later on. Also, there is such a thing as proper leash handling. I tend to walk with one hand. I like to keep my right hand free to give prompts if I need to, or deliver reinforcements. So I walk with my left. There's no right or wrong. You do exactly what you feel comfortable with. If you prefer walking with your right, that's fine. But the important thing to note is, if you are going to walk one-handed, the best way to do that is to actually put your thumb through this loop like this, as opposed to a lot of people do this. I've seen people do that. I've seen people with the loop all the way around their biceps, like that. Depending on how big your dog is, you can actually get yourself really hurt doing it that way. So instead, you'd be surprised how much security you have just by using your thumb to hook here. And then I create a second loop around my forefinger like this. So now this is my leash handling. And the reason why I do it this way is if I have a bigger dog that lunges forward and tries to get at something, I release this and just hook back, and I actually have significantly more strength and security keeping that dog in check than if I was like this. If I was like this, my fingers would probably pop open. If I was up here, I'd probably have bruises all over my arms. So this is one of the safest and more secure ways, although it might not feel like it right away as you get adjusted. But again, to show, you're gonna hook your thumb through this loop, create another loop here. This is more your navigation and also the amount of lead you want to give your dog. When I work with puppies, it's less lead, meaning less leash. I only give them about 2.5 feet. That's the realm that they can walk within, that 2.5 feet around my side. I don't give them the full leash because if I do, I'm gonna have them 4 to 6 feet in front of me. That's not what I want. So we're just gonna show really quickly with Halo. Hello. And remember, as you're getting your dog ready, it should be a calm process, even if they aren't calm. You should call them over, you should have them sit, hook them up to the leash or put the harness on calmly. Do your best where you can, especially if you're in a distraction-free setting, to prompt them. Don't use your leash, don't pull them, don't drag them. You might need little pulses, but more than anything, what I'm gonna do is I'm maintaining my ground. What that means is if he wants to pull in that direction, but he's reached the end of the leash, he can't move anymore. That's it. That's how I teach him. The leash is a limitation. It is a boundary. It is not something you keep pulling and resisting against. It's something that when you get to the end of it, you stop. You move back towards the tension to loosen it again. So, yes. 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 If I want to change direction, I want him to change direction with me to know I'm his leader, not me drag him. So I might use a prompt or a little, yes, a little pulse, I like to call it. Yes. But hopefully you guys can see the dip in the leash here. Yes. Yes. And I periodically reward. Yes. So that he sees that there's some positive experiences by staying in line with me. So now he wants to go the other way. I don't want him to. I merely stop. Yes. When he makes a decision to loosen that leash and come back to my side, I give a little yes, maybe a little click, and I'll reinforce again every so often. Yes. Yes. Another thing I try to do is when you're reinforcing, they're gonna tend to start looking up at you a lot and be hyper-focused on you. It's not a bad thing to start, but I wanna try to reinforce when they're not paying attention to me. I'm just reinforcing for the calm walking by my side, not the hyper-focus on me, because then I'm not really getting him to learn how to tune out distractions. He just doesn't notice them at all. I need him to kind of notice there's things going on in the environment and choose not to get worked up by them, not to act on them. So if you have a backyard, even in your home, that's a great place to start this. This looks very different out on the street because there's so many more distractions, so much more going on. But if you can start in a distraction-free zone so they even understand what this concept is, that, oh, can't move anymore. Yes. Then that's where you want to start the training. Somewhere your dog can be successful before you challenge them to do it, somewhere that's a little harder. Yes. Good job.